Hi, I'm Nikki Albertyn, owner and creative director of Sweet LionHeart, which was founded in 2015. I'm a trained graphic designer that has always been drawn to the kitchen. I grew up cooking with my mom, only baking on the odd occasion, mostly with my granny. After school, I didn't even consider going to chef school. I always wanted to be a designer, so I headed to advertising school and graduated in 2012. I did a 9-month stint in advertising, then made a move to an online food magazine where I was introduced to recipe development, conceptualizing shoots, and content creation, and was also allowed the opportunity to food style and dabble in photography. While working at Crush, the food magazine, I started my own food blog called Gathered so I could have some freedom in my content production and also doing so with my mom. It was something that I got to do when I could, but was a great creative outlet. It never got really big, but it was a passion project. Eventually I moved on from the online food magazine to work for a friend of mine that owns and runs an online lifestyle brand selling finished fabric goods. I was in charge of designing all the digital elements, assisting in pattern design and also creating blog content, particularly food posts. I reached out to them to ask if I could do a part-time pastry course, which they agreed to. So I went to Silwood School of Cookery to do their 1-year part-time pastry course. Over the course of the year, I posted what I would make each week onto my own Instagram account. The goodies we made were traditional pastries and very much covered the basics of patisserie. We never did any kind of cake design like we do here at Sweet LionHeart today. By the end of that year, I had gained a few followers of my work, and people that weren't friends or family started requesting baked goods. I decided on a name, got a friend of mine to design the logo, started the Instagram page, and created one packaged product called Calisons that I sold at a local shop in Cape Town. From there, I started to post images of cakes I would make for family or orders, and the requests started to come in. At this time, I was still working for Zana, the online lifestyle business, and needed a kitchen space. In February 2016, Zana moved their studio and I had the opportunity to set up a small kitchen in the back of their new studio. I had a 12 square meter space at the back of the fabric craziness, and that was the business home for 2 years. I ran the business part-time for 6 months, where I would go to work super early, bake some cake, sit down at my desk by 8 o'clock and work for Zana until 1 p.m. Lunchtime, I would pack away my laptop and head to the kitchen until who knows what time. In September 2016, I went full-time and have been ever since. During the past 4 years, I have had and lost a business partner who's also a great friend of mine. We built the business together in the starting years, but went our separate ways in 2018. I've now got a team of 7 amazing women that are passionate about cake and what we do at Sweet LionHeart. I honestly didn't think that being the owner of a cake business would be where I am today, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's got its ups and downs. I'm not in the kitchen as much as I'd like to be, but I am responsible for growing the business sustainably, and I find joy in that. Every now and then I get to step into the kitchen and create something beautiful, but mostly I get to creative direct what happens in the Sweet LionHeart studio and work with my amazing team of girls.
Hi, I'm Loda, I'm 26 and I am a cake decorator.
Hi, I'm Natalie, I'm also 26 and I am a cake designer and I also manage the kitchen.
Hey guys, I'm Tay Tay, I'm 27. I am the head baker at Lionheart, aka the only baker.
The only baker. We only have one baker.
Yeah,
Taryn
that's
does
me.
all of our cake.
Ta-da.
Cool. Okay, so we know what you guys do here. Laura, what did you do before you started working for the most amazing boss ever?
That's true. I studied food technology straight out of high school, and then I kind of did in between jobs, trying to convince my parents that I could bake and that I could decorate things. So that's what I did before I started, and then now I'm here.
So you're a self-taught baker, pretty much.
I am pretty much self-taught. But I did do one workshop with LionHeart actually before I started working here.
So straight from school, I went to study at chef school and got a like an all-round chef's diploma, and then I went to work in a 5-star hotel for 4.5 years, and then which is pretty actually long. So after that, I decided I needed a change because I was very much into like high tea sort of pastries and fine dining dessert. So I thought, let me take a sort of a turn and do something more sort of cake style, and do sort of wedding cakes and anything for occasions, instead of that like high demand, high pressure sort of working environment. And yeah, so I applied to work at LionHeart, and I've been here since 2018.
You didn't even know who we were when you applied?
No, I didn't. I didn't. Someone sent me the Instagram advert. You should have worked there. And I was like, who are these people? And then, yeah, best job ever, to be honest.
Woohoo. Okay, so Taryn, before you started working at LionHeart, what were you doing?
I was working as an aesthetic therapist with a doctor. If you guys don't know what that is, Google it. Always your best friend. Didn't take much to convince me to join the sweet life of a pastry chef at LionHeart.
Woohoo.
Yeah, that's where I am today.
No more doctors.
Nah.
Just cake
No,
doctors. Okay, cool. So my next question to you guys is, I think you all need to offer everyone a little bit of advice. So I'm going to start with Taryn. As a baker, what is your advice to people who are wanting to break into the baking scene?
Sheesh, kebab. I've got a few top tips. You want to be like me, top baker.
How to be like Taryn?
How to be like Tay.
Number one, let's go. Get a granny like mine. She's
Good
amazing.
recipes?
Yes, good recipes. Well, they will always teach you the basics. So if you don't have one, find a baking granny. Rent one for the week. I don't know what you got to do, but find yourself a baking granny. Number two, you got to have passion. There's got to be flames. There's got to be fire. You got to love what you do. You got to love baking. You got to love eating the baked stuff. So if you got that, you'll be A for away. Number three, you got to love eating the goods more than you love baking them, or on the same par. We all know they say don't get high on your own supply, but in this case, tasting is key. Literally, tasting is key. Taste everything. So if you need to get a little high, then just go for it.
It's not your own supply.
Yeah, but it's fine. So
Fabulous.
anyway, that leads me to number 4.
Small.
A pinch of salt always does wonders. It's magic, literally magic.
She needs 2 pinches of
Yeah,
salt.
probably 2, as Laura knows. It will take the goods from here to there, so definitely don't be scared of the salt. Sure, number 5.
Jeepers.
I'll top it at 6. Let's top it at 6. Guys.
We've got a lot of advice for you guys.
I mean, taught from the best, you got to take the advice. So wait, number 5, where are we? This is an important one. This is like make or break in the baking world. Know the difference between grams and mils. If you don't know that, then you're done. Like, just KO, you over. Please educate yourself on that one, people. Yeah, that's a good one. And last but not least is... Hold on, I've got it. There's definitely one more there. I'm not done. One more.
This is the best.
Google and YouTube are your best friends. Honestly, like, you can't go wrong. If you don't know it, just Google
You
it.
can learn it
Like,
anywhere,
honestly, you
yeah.
can become Heston Blumenthal in your own kitchen and you'll be A for away. So, top
is
tips
true.
from the baker. That's how to be the best in the biz. Just
Cool.
like us.
Well, I feel like we can just leave now.
Yeah, I feel like there's nothing more for us to say, so that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's how it's done, guys.
Okay, cool. Well, those are some amazing tips. Thanks, Taryn. I didn't know that those were in your soul.
Yeah, that's it.
So you're gonna learn a lot of baking from Taryn here. Natalie, as somebody who didn't do cake before you arrived here, how did you find the process of like breaking into the cake designing world? And what would your advice be to somebody who wants to pursue the career of being a cake designer?
I'm going to start with the advice first. So basically, you just have to do it. It's like saying how are you going to be good at something is through a lot of practice. So you just have to start doing it and start clocking in your hours of designing cakes. Like anything, the first time you do it, comparing it to the 20th time you're doing it will honestly be like chalk and cheese. So it comes down to practice, a lot of practice, and basically just getting the motions and figuring out and understanding cakes cake sponges as well as the frosting, understanding how it works under different temperatures, and basically just getting to know what you're working with in and out so that you know exactly how things are going to react under certain circumstances. So coming from my previous job, which was a 5-star establishment, your standard always had to be like pretty top notch. So that definitely helped me in doing a transition from just being a pastry chef to now being a cake designer. You definitely have to have an eye for detail and have to be sort of like a perfectionist, because you can honestly see the little bits where you kind of slack off, so you could say. It really does show, and in the bigger picture, if every single step is perfect, then the sort of masterpiece that you create at the end is honestly
perfection.
Yeah, looking really good. So it comes down to little things like how you cut a cake or how you color your frosting. You might think, oh, it's fine, I'm just going to, you know, sort of, if it's cut a little bit skew here, it doesn't matter, but it really does matter in the very end. So you got to make sure that every single step of the design process and of the sort of putting your cake together is perfect at every step, so that the bigger picture, it looks really, really, really good.
I do feel like, though, like you talk about perfection quite a lot. There is a lot of learning that goes into what we do. So you make mistakes, but through knowing your foundations, you have the tools to fix mistakes that you make and learn. Sure. So it's really important to understand the basics and just know that you can always learn and do it better, fix your mistakes, and eventually you'll get there. Yeah. It's all about practice. It really, really is. We have a lot of hours between us in terms of our cake design. So a lot of people would look at what we do and think that, oh my gosh, it's amazing. How do they do it? It's not an overnight thing. It comes with practice and many hours of work. So be nice to yourself.
It's also super dependent on what type of style you're going for in the end. If you are going for the more arty style, the more abstract style, then you would obviously be able to get away with sort of doing more of having more of an artistic flair and sort of not knowing what you're doing, but with each step. So just doing what comes to mind. And if you do have clients that are willing to give you enough creative freedom, which is also really cool, then your style often comes through a lot more than when your client comes to you and says, I want a cake to look exactly like this, and then you have to kind of make it exactly like that. So your style will definitely come through throughout all the cakes that you do. I mean, we all have different styles. Yeah. I can tell when Laura does a cake, when I do a cake, when you do a cake.
You can tell when Tay does a cake.
Yeah.
She doesn't do the cake.
do it. Daily cakes. Come on, guys.
Laura, as somebody that is self-taught, what amazing tips do you have for people that are in a similar situation to what you were before you started doing cake every day?
Okay, I would say that there isn't like an amazing tip that I can give you. It's kind of ties in with what everybody said. It's a lot of practice. It didn't come to me the first day I did it. My first cake was a disaster. Everything's practicing. It's also, you can learn everything from YouTube. This is very true. I learned pretty much everything from YouTube, and then the one course that I did.
All our courses you can learn from us too.
Yes. I was gonna get to you guys.
Yeah,
so YouTube first is what I learned from, but then the thing that really gave me the game-changing thing for me was my first workshop with LionHeart. They kind of taught me how to get my cake straight, and that was kind of the thing that gave me the confidence to go further and start baking for other people. The other thing that I would say is, and what came up for me in my workshop, was actually planning ahead of time, because I tried to do a cake on the day or the day before. It's not possible. You're going to get yourself in tears. Don't do it yourself. Definitely plan ahead. That's like my biggest thing that I learned, was to plan ahead and to do as much as possible ahead of time, so that on the day it's like the smooth just run through. And then I was also just very fortunate when Nat talks about perfection, is that I have a father that's like very like to the point. Everything's got to look like perfect. You don't have to be perfect, but making sure that every step of the way you are executing it as ideal as possible. My dad kind of taught me to make sure that all my lines were clean and that I was giving every element like the most effort that I could, and so that it wasn't like a sloppy job. You don't want to have to hide behind, oh, well, I made a mistake here, so I'll just cover it up with a flour. Try to make sure that everything looks good at all times. I think just practicing, planning, and trying to aim for perfection is always good.